The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 2, Reading and Viewing, and addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to explore and explain key features of texts and how they contribute to meaning. Learners should be able to identify and explain the purpose, structure, and language used in texts across the curriculum. There is much more to putting together a newspaper than we might have thought. Today we're going to go into even more detail as we learn about one of the types of article in the paper, the news article. Hi, I'm Becky. Welcome to the second lesson in our series about reading newspapers. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify the intention of a news story, recognize a news story, tell if a piece of writing meets the criteria of a well-written news article. There are different types of articles in the newspaper, and we will be covering a number of them in this series of lessons. Some of them are news articles, opinion articles, reviews, letters and features. Each of these styles of writing has a different intention. In other words, each type of article is written for a different purpose. And just like they're written in different ways, they also require different types of reading. To see what I mean by different types of reading, think about how you would read the following texts: the front page story, the comic pages, the TV schedule. Here we have 3 different texts from the same newspaper. But the intention for each is very different, and the way we would read it is also very different. We have some learners from Judea College to tell us what they thought the intention is for each of these different types of writing, and how they would go about reading them.
I think the intention of the front page is to catch people's attention, to get more people to buy the newspaper, and to get more money.
The front page grabs an attention of the reader, and I think without a front page no one would really be interested in any newspaper or magazine.
Okay, for me the front page of a newspaper is more or less the major news that happened, and people like to read the major news first and not the unimportant stuff.
Okay, I think the cartoon section is to entertain young adults, young children, or the youth. The purpose of the cartoons, I think, is mainly for entertainment, because you want something that, at least when you've had a bad day, that can at least make you laugh a little bit and make it seem a lot better. And also to make fun of our country without anyone suing them or legal stuff.
For me, cartoons in the newspaper is also quite entertaining, just for fun purposes. After you read all the harsh stuff that happens in the world, you like to take a break and read cartoons and, just relax.
The purpose of a TV guide is normally to, tell you what's on TV. It's not really fun to sit around for 5 hours just to see what's on TV there all day. It's, there to tell you what's on TV. You can go have a look at when your program's coming on, your movie, anything that you really want to. It's there to see what's going on.
Okay, I think a TV guide is the best thing you can have, because that way you will not miss your favorite program or TV series or movie. It is absolutely fantastic. Without a TV guide, everybody would miss what they wanted to watch, and there would be no point in watching TV.
Today, we're going to concentrate on really getting to know the news article. The news is, after all, the reason that most people buy newspapers. And if you know how these articles are structured and what features to look out for, you will be able to read them more effectively. To help us understand what makes the news, we went to talk to the experts. the journalists and editors at the Sunday Times. After all, they do work with news every day. I asked Heather Robertson, the national editor, how the Sunday Times chooses what goes on the front page as the main news story.
What happens is every single section editor comes in with their strongest stories. And then we have this enormous debate. It's like, what is the biggest news of the week? What is completely exclusive to the Sunday Times? What are we going to tell people out there that they don't know before? So the biggest criteria for what goes on this front page of the newspaper is it's got to be breaking news. It's got to be of national interest. It's got to try and interest everybody, as many people as possible in the country. It's got to get them talking around their braais on a Sunday afternoon.
What do you look for in a story that you think would get the readers talking about it?
What are people really concerned about? What's going to get the nation's tongues wagging? Those are the stories that we look for, and we try to look for it throughout the paper. But there are different kinds of stories that make a newspaper. You can't just have a whole lot of corruption stories. I think you would bore readers to death. So particularly with our newspaper, you've got to actually find a mix of stories. So you'll see on the back page there's like South African surfing chick makes the big time. Or you'll see on page 3 there's some story about be it about a celebrity or maybe it's about Prince Harry and Prince William, or maybe it's about a sex scandal in Bloemfontein.
We also spoke to Jessica Bezuidenhout, a news editor, about what makes a well-written news article.
A good news story is something on the Sunday Times that has all the trappings. It has facts. It tells people something that they don't know. Alternatively, it shows people the impact of something that is happening around them, how it is going to impact on their lives, how they can prepare for something that is about to happen. It's about adding value to someone's life out there. I mean, people pick up a newspaper and they probably think 9 out of 10 times that it's a bunch of facts that have just been thrown together, and it's actually not all that easy. Reporters work really hard to put together what is essentially a little mini package, maybe 300 words, 400 words, 1,000 words, but they contain information that adds value to their lives. So whether it is a ratepayers issue and how something that the council is doing in your neighborhood, or how the Scorpions are fighting with the South African police, it is something that ultimately you want your reader to have read on Sunday and to have gained knowledge and to be in a slightly better position to sit at a dinner table and have an opinion on something.
That was very interesting. It certainly sounds like there's a lot of pressure in these jobs, and that good teamwork and communication is the only way to get a paper published every week. Let's recap the main ideas about what makes up a good news article that Heather and Jessica shared with us. They told us that news stories are made up of facts that are checked. The most important thing to remember is that news stories are based on facts that journalists have collected, and these facts are checked and rechecked to make sure that they are correct. Secondly, the news must be current. In other words, the story must be relevant to people right now. If it was interesting yesterday, then it is already too late for today's paper. The third point that they made is that news is topical. News has to be topical. It has to be about something that people will care about or that is important to know about. So, a newspaper will be filled with news stories that are based on facts and chosen because they're about things that are important right now. They will be about subjects that people care about or information that is important for us to know. And the stories will be a mixture of different types and dealing with different kinds of news. Let's take a look at a news story from the Sunday Times and see if it meets these criteria. This story is about paint on toys for children that has been proved to be very dangerous. The journalist gives us facts and figures which help us to trust their information. Here it is.
Laboratory tests done for the newspaper and the Medical Research Council have identified wooden toddler toys painted with levels of lead up to 1,300 times higher than international safety limits. Andrew Smith, laboratory manager of one of Britain's government-accredited toy safety testing agencies, said, "These figures are amazing, horrifying. The worst toy seen in the past 5 years from Europe would have been about 20 times over the safety limit," he said. South Africa's Department of Health said the test results were disturbing. 3 sets of tests done by the National Institute for Occupational Health on 30 toys from stores in Johannesburg and Cape Town found 15 with toxic levels of lead. Most were made in South Africa.
The journalist refers to tests done in laboratories by experts. The article mentions facts and figures like lead levels being 1,300 times higher than international safety limits. Here we see the journalist quoting a specialist and saying who he works for. This gives the article much more authority. Again, the journalists use facts to make their case stronger by quoting our government and also the results of tests done locally. From just this short section of the article, we can see how important facts are to a news story. They give it authority and lets the reader trust that the journalist is telling the truth. Next, we have to ask ourselves if the story is current. At the time that the story was written, it was news that nobody else had, and the Sunday Times journalists were the first journalists to tell the country this information. What about the next criteria? Do you think that it is topical? Is it about something that people will care about, or that it is important that they know about? I think any parent whose children play with toys would be very worried that the paint on the toys may be poisonous and damaging to their child's health. Let's go back to our objectivity scale. Where would you place a news story along this line? Remember that this end refers to information that is totally objective, and this end refers to information that is totally subjective. I would place a news story quite close to the objective side. But remember, even in news stories, there is a bit of the journalist's own point of view and interpretation that will come through. Now it is time for your task for today. Remember that the skills you are learning are intended to make you informed, critical, and active readers. It doesn't matter if what you're reading is a newspaper, a textbook, or a document. Read the front page article from any newspaper. Find examples from the text that show that it is based on facts, current, topical. Remember that you need to support your answers with evidence from the article you have read. That's all from me today. Join me next time when we will look at some of the other types of writing that we find in newspapers. From me, Becky, goodbye.